things have just fallen into place for me because people have seen how I present myself, and I'm always gonna work hard, and they appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I am where I am today. And if I don't feel like something's realistic, I'm gonna say it, just being upfront from the jump. So
Were you always like that? Were you like that as a kid?
yeah.
Like you just
people used to tell me, Michelle, you can't say that just because you think that that's right. And I'm like, why not? That's
Right.
what I think is right. So I'm going to say it, and either you like it or you don't.
This is SAGA, a podcast about the people using their powers to shape Thesis. My name is Octavius A. Newman, and we're speaking to Michelle Wright, advocate, organizer, and powerlifter. She's a Portland native and senior engagement manager here at Thesis. This is Michelle's Saga.
Michelle.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure. Things are going exactly the way I want them to. Perfect.
Cool.
So, Michelle, I am very interested in your story, your origin story. But before we go backwards, just tell me how you would describe your role in your own words.
My role at Thesis. I do a lot. Most of everything is just focused on the employee, the employee journey from when they are brought in by our talent acquisition team. So onboarding, making sure they have all of their equipment, gifts. Thesis gives gifts.
Gifts?
Yeah.
Off top?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and just recognizing the employee for, special anniversary, work anniversary, if they've had a baby, birthday, stuff like that. So recognizing the employee. Also, I do a lot of events. So we just had a big event a few weeks ago that I, with the help of my team, put on for the company. So it was a company event. It was cool.
Word.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your team. Who is a part of your team?
We have Chief of People, which is Scott Thompson. We have Natalie Reed. She is senior or engagement manager, not senior. She's like my right-hand gal. And then we have senior engagement manager Carling Leon. And then we have Enrique Louise, which is a talent acquisition manager. And then we have Matt Davis, which just joined our team like about a month ago. And he is also a talent acquisition manager.
Okay, so for someone who doesn't know anything about this other than what you just described, how do you guys work together? Like, what's the normal experience like on a day or a week?
Okay, so like Scott or Enrique and Matt, they work very closely together. Recruiting, getting people in the door. They send out the offers for the employees. And then it's up to Natalie and I to make that onboarding experience unique to that person and give them that, awesome feeling when they're being onboarded onto Thesis. So it's a lot of communication, a lot of organization, just because we have processes as we go. So, yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
It's a lot.
It sounds like a whole lot.
That's why we have to stay on process.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before we started about how important process and organization is for you.
It's very important.
How important? Tell me like I don't know.
Well, let's talk about like Thesis. They gave us the opportunity to do our Gallup Strength Finders. So consistency and adaptability are two of my top 5.
Okay.
So, but I do better when it's just like we just need a process in it for it to be consistent all the time. There are times where things get, thrown off, or like if we do a one-off hire, it kind of frazzles a little bit the team.
Throws you off a little bit?
Yeah, it throws it off. But Adaptability is my other strength. So I can make it work, but I'd rather not.
I feel that. I can be,
Yeah,
I can. But if you had your druthers, as my grandfather would say, you'd rather just have it be orderly from top to bottom. Okay, so here's what I want to do. We've got a little bit of an idea of what you do day to day. Now, I'd like to go back into time. Like, where did we start? Where did you start? Where's your origin? Where's your beginning? Paint the picture for us.
So, I mean, I go back to, I would say like my first real job. I actually worked for a cab company that's in Portland.
Okay.
It's called Radio Cab, which is actually just right down the street. As a teller, so I had to be very personable with the cab drivers, and I was in charge of making sure that they got their paycheck. They have to bring in their ticket to get paid. So just dealing with different personalities, different people on that scale. And then after Radio Cab, I went to, I'm like totally drawing a blank where I went, but no. I got a job at a psychology clinic.
A psychology clinic? Did you study psychology?
No.
So what role did you play in a psychology clinic?
So I was a front desk person.
Okay.
And also did insurance billing. So I pretty much taught myself. Well, not taught myself, but I learned through them. But I also assisted 8 pediatric psychologists. So also different personalities, different needs and wants, and last minute requests. And then I went to college for an accounting degree.
So if I may, where are we at in the story here? Did you go to college after?
No, not after high school. I did not.
Okay.
So I was like in my 20s.
Okay.
When I decided I wanted to go back, when I wanted to go to college.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. So I was when I was working at the psychology clinic, I was going to college for accounting. And when my graduation date was coming, actually business administration, emphasis in accounting. So when my graduation date was coming, I let the psychology clinic know, like, hey, I'm going to start looking for something that is more like in that area of business, and accounting. So I gave them about a 3-month, I'll let you know when I find something, but I'm going to start looking now. So then I found my last position that was before here, and it was for a social media company, a startup.
Okay.
And the guy hired me right on the spot as a operations manager. And I was there for a little over 3 years. He ended up selling his company. But when I left there, I was promoted to HR. So I was head of HR director for that company.
So you've been the head of a lot of stuff for a while. So the stuff that's going on in Thesis is not new.
It's just because of opportunity. And I think that for myself, I think things have just fallen into place for me because people have seen how I present myself. And I'm always going to work hard, and they appreciate that. Yeah. So I think that's why I am where I am today. Wow. Is just, and being open and honest and real. And if I don't feel like something's realistic, I'm going to say it, just being upfront from the jump. So.
Were you always like that? Were you like that as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. Like you just
people used to tell me, Michelle, you can't say that just because you think that that's right. And I'm like, why not? That's what I think is right. So I'm going to say it, and either you like it or you don't. Right. I don't know.
Has that always worked out for you? Or has that got you in trouble?
I would say it's a little bit of both.
Good trouble? Bad trouble sometimes too?
What's good trouble?
I mean, I guess it's the juice is worth the squeeze kind of trouble.
Yeah.
The trouble that I get in is worth the thing I'm standing for kind of thing.
But then I think as we get older, I think people respect it more that I've just ripped a Band-Aid off or I've said what needs to be said in some instances. So
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about young Michelle.
okay.
You know, like you're even talking about like, yeah, I was kind of like that all the time. Where did you grow up?
Northeast Portland, right off of 68th and Going.
And what is that like? What kind of environment was that like?
Very neighborhood. Lots of kids around. My brother and I mean, we've always been very close. So always outside playing, riding bikes. We had a big trampoline that we would spend a lot of time on, in, or just the yard. We had a dog named Maggie, you know.
Maggie?
Maggie.
Okay.
So very neighborhood, people very close. You could go to your neighbor, ask, you know, hey, I need an egg. I need some sugar.
You wouldn't ask for sugar?
Absolutely.
People always tell that story. How much Kool-Aid were you making?
We weren't making Kool-Aid.
Okay.
No, my mom was a shopper. We had all the things. So
What's that
my house was like the snack house. People would come to my house because my mom would literally go to Costco and she's dropping like $500 probably every 2 weeks. So we had all the snacks. We weren't drinking Kool-Aid.
Your mom was a candy lady?
She was the snack lady. So we had all the Costco snacks at my
500 on what? What's coming home for 500?
From Costco. Shit from Costco, literally.
Okay.
Like, we would go to Costco and my mom would be like, just get what snacks do you want? So we had all the things.
Okay.
It was cool. So people knew that when they came to our house that you was going to get some fire-ass snacks.
What kind of stuff was going on at the house? Were you guys having, was it like video games? Is it?
I mean,
what's happening at the house? We have snacks. What else is there?
Yeah. My brother and I just had a very big friend group growing up always. And my house was always the safe house. I think it was just because of who my mother was. Come over, enjoy yourself. You know, if you need to use a computer to do your homework, or if you need to just chill or talk to my mom, like it was an open door policy at our house for all of our friends. But yeah, my brother was, you know, played video games. I was not into the video games as much, but just late night outside in the backyard, hanging out around the fire pit or on the deck. It was the kick it spot.
So what kind of relationship did you have with your brother growing up? What role does he play in who Michelle is today?
Oh, he very important. We've always been super close. Like he always included me in everything that he did. So like,
oh, okay,
yeah. And he grew up also as a baseball player. So from T-ball to he got a full ride scholarship to college, and it was very important to me to never miss one of his baseball games.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was one of his number one supporters. Same with my mom, but I think that was also something that kept us very close, you know, because I was very, like, I would keep score for his baseball games, or, you know, just being involved was important to me.
True number one fan, like.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask, like, sister-brother relationship. Are you giving him critique and feedback on his game? No? That was crossing the lines too much?
No. He had coaches for that. I'm not his coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you said he also played baseball. Did you play baseball? Did you play any sports?
Nope, I did not play any sports growing up.
So
because I was more worried about his baseball playing.
So what are your activities when you're young? Like, what are you getting into? What are you doing?
Just like I said, being outside playing with my friends, riding bikes, trampoline. That was really it. I wasn't like out running and doing, and I was always close to home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed you mentioned mom. Can you tell me about mom?
Yeah. Mom was single white female with 2 mixed children. Worked her ass off for us to provide everything that we ever wanted. We were spoiled. Not bad.
$500 worth of snacks every week. So
she did what she had to do to make it work. So she wanted to make sure that we lived a good life. And she played a huge role in that for us as mixed children growing up in Northeast Portland. So we had a stepfather, and then we also have our biological father. But my mother was a very spiritual, outspoken, would do anything for us and our friends. Was always an advocate for us. Like, we could do wrong, but in her eyes, we could never do wrong. And she was always going to be our number one. Like, yeah, you fucked up, but I'm gonna let you know that you fucked up, and we'll get past this. But yeah. You only get one pass, though. Don't do it again.
What's that mean? You only get one pass? What happens if it happens the second time?
Yeah, I have to see.
You know what? Did anything go into the second and third time for you?
Sometimes, yeah, a few times, and I feel like when a parent's, you get to that point and it's like, Michelle, I'm disappointed. Whenever you use the word disappointed, a parent does, it's like the heartstrings.
Especially if you care.
Yeah. Like, fuck, she used the word disappointed. It's just like a puppy dog with the tail between the legs. It's like, shit. And then she gives you the silent treatment for a few days.
Just, I raised you better than this.
And she's like, I thought we talked about this. Like, why do you need to do this again? So.
Yeah. Now, you said your mom is spiritual.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Because I just want to ask, because that means something different for everybody.
So my mom was very just in tune with energy.
Okay.
Or like, she could feel things. Like, if something was not right or something was off, or if she just, I remember this one time, I don't even remember where we were, but we were walking into a store. That's where we were. And she stopped right when we were walking into the store. And she like looked over and just through like a crowd, and this guy was having a heart attack. And she ran over there. It's like, how do you even know to like stop and like look over, and there's this old man having a heart attack?
What did she do when she got there?
She gave him CPR. She saved his life.
You left that part out. Wait a minute. So mom came in.
Yeah.
She felt via the force or something, feels something.
Looks over.
How old were you when this happened?
I was probably like my teens, maybe like 14 or 15. Yeah.
She ran over and did CPR. And what happened? Like, I have to know.
Well, the store called 911 and the ambulance came and stuff. But if she wouldn't have done that.
So the man lived?
Yeah. Wow.
What kind of impact does that leave on you? Was your brother there?
No, it was just her and I.
So what kind of impact does that leave on you? Your mom is a superhero and saved somebody's life.
I mean, I feel like that's just a normal thing for her, because there's been numerous times, that's just one story. There's been numerous times where she stops what she's doing for somebody else, or she knows that somebody's not having a good day. They don't blatantly just say it out, but she just knows. She can just feel it. Her intuition was always very on point. So, and her just feelings.
Have you picked any of that up? Have you inherited any of that?
Yeah.
How does that show up in you?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
No, I don't mean it unfortunately. Sometimes it's a little too much, though, and it's like, yeah. I'm very in tune with like my gut feeling. If something's not right, something's not right. Or if I just have a bad feeling about someone or something, I'm usually
on point?
Yeah.
Wow. So mom's a superhero. Okay, the power of empathy. She saves lives. $500 Costco runs. Trampolines, bikes. I'm assuming you don't live there now in the same place.
No.
When did you transition out of? Where did you go next in the journey?
So we lived at the 68th Going House through my whole high school, and then my mom wanted to get a divorce from her husband. So we sold that house and we moved out to Washington County.
Okay.
Because my aunt and my cousin and my grandmother bought a house out there on 10 acres. And so we just went out there as like a transition.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still living with my mom then. So we all just moved out there to just like as a family, you know.
What age is this?
I'm trying to remember. I want to say, so it was after high school. So I want to say I was probably like, well, I was commuting down here to Radio Cab, so like early 20s.
Okay, so Radio Cab is happening around the same time as this move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like 21, 22, probably. And then my mom and I found a townhouse in Beaverton. We moved there. And then there's been a lot of moving, but yeah. Then my brother and his wife that he's married to now, we moved into a house back in Northeast Portland. And that's when I decided to go back to college or go to college. And I was working at that psychology clinic. So
now here's what I'm curious about. What age was college?
I want to say it was like probably like 25, 26.
You know that, like, so I'm interested in what led up to deciding to go to college at 25.
Because,
is there anything in particular that happened?
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I knew I loved numbers.
Okay.
And I had a close friend of mine at the time that was going to, at the time it was called Heald College.
Heald?
Heald, which is like, no longer a thing because actually I have a story for you about that.
I love stories.
So I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a try. It would be cool to say that I actually went to college and got a college degree.
Okay.
You know? So I put myself through that, got like the whole financial aid, all of that stuff, right? So I find out my mom is sick while I'm still doing college and all of that. And she's like, oh, you know, you're good. You can do this. So I'm working full time and going to college full time. And one day I get this letter in the mail and it's, oh, there's a class action suit against Heald College. And I'm like, oh, okay, this can't be good. So I'm like, Mom.
Were you already enrolled?
Yeah. So I was almost done. And I was like, oh, this can't be good. And it's like, your school might be shutting down, this, that, and the other thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, Mom, can you read this letter and tell me what it means to you? And she's like, everything's going to be fine.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. She's like, just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to be fine. So I didn't worry about it. Then I had these people starting to call my phone, and they're like, you need to apply for this. What do they call it? I want to say bereavement, but it's kind of like a bereavement for your student loan, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, Mom, what do you think about that? I'm like, do you think this is a scam? Like, because nobody at the school is like telling me, hey, you know, we have a class action lawsuit against us. You know, like, this is what you should be doing. Like, nobody's talking about it. It's literally a letter, and then these people are calling me. And I'm like, I don't know if I trust this. Like, my mom's like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And, you know, it's not like they're asking you for money or your social security number. It's literally just fill out this application.
Okay.
So I do it. And like, I would say probably like right after I graduated, my loans were in forbearance so that means you're not.
As you do.
Yeah.
Many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I did start paying on it, my monthly payment. And so I had an account open through this Great Western, whatever.
Okay.
And I wake up in the morning at like 4:00 in the morning because my phone is like going off. And it's an email from the Great Western place. It's like, your account is now at 0. And I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Hold on. Your student loans
they was gone.
Can I get that?
$48,000 in student loans just gone overnight.
Can I fill out the paperwork? Is it too late for me?
Yeah. So I got college for free.
Wow.
Wow.
And this is what college?
It's Heald. It's like a trade school college. It's associate's degree, but yeah.
What did you study there?
I did business administration, emphasis in accounting.
Okay. Do we know what the scandal was with Heald College?
Yeah, so it was...
What's the deal?
So if you are a student or whatever and you graduate from there, they help you with job placement. Well, they weren't, and that's part of their like promise or something. They weren't fulfilling that. So somebody sued them.
And as a result, shout out to that person, because as a result, the whole alumni.
Yeah, whoever filled out the application for their loans to be forgiven, the class action lawsuit paid for the loans. Because it was a promise that, that was in our paperwork and people weren't getting that fulfilled for them.
What'd your mom say when it all shook out?
She was like, I told you. She's like, you never know unless you know. And I was like, you're not going to believe this. Yeah.
She was like, I'm the one to tell you to do it.
And all the money that I paid into the previous, they deposited back in my account.
Sheesh.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
I got to look into my college, make sure there's no paperwork I'm supposed to fill out. Make sure, you know what I mean? I might be owed something that I don't even know.
So there's partly, in my life, I feel like I've kind of won the lottery in a way.
Tell me more about that.
No, just saying, because schooling is not cheap.
You right about that. So,
and my total amount, it was like $48,000 something, and then just for it to just be gone, and I still have my college degree.
Yeah.
We're talking books. We're talking classes that I just signed up for and missed the cutoff, and you still have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay for none of that.
Wow. That's a story right there. Mm-hmm. What happens after that? Where do we go from there? So we've moved. What's the neighborhood again?
It's Northeast Portland.
Okay. And you're in college. Mm-hmm. And this is when you're working at the taxi company?
No, I was at the psychology clinic.
Psychology clinic. Mm-hmm. Okay. How did that happen?
Honestly, it was me. Yeah. An old friend from high school, actually.
Okay.
She was going to be moving, and she posted the job, I think, on her Facebook. And she's like, hey, anybody want to come work for this great Christian-owned psychology clinic? It's a great place to work. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it's Christian psychology. So there's a combination of the spirituality and the.
But I was also raised Christian, too. So.
Okay. So that's the spirituality that mom had. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you taken that on yourself?
What do you mean? Do I actively
Well, I mean, some people are raised in different faith, different religious backgrounds, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have taken on the belief themselves.
I believe that there's a higher thing.
Okay.
I definitely believe that. And I've experienced things, but who are we to say that this is what it is? You know what I mean? But I definitely believe that there is something that is out there that is higher.
Okay.
Power. Yes.
I respect that. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. What was the experience like in the Christian psychology?
I mean, it was cool. It was very rewarding for me. And like I said, 8 pediatric psychologists. It was a great, positive experience and I think a really good foot in the door too, because I still have a relationship with those people. Mm.
Is there any particular thing that you learned or took away from that experience that's still with you now?
I think just having compassion for people that have mental illness. Mm. A lot of people don't speak about mental illness or how they're feeling, if they're feeling depressed or if they're having anxiety. I never even knew what anxiety was until I worked at the psychology clinic, or how some children, when they're growing up, they can't help, certain things that they're going through.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents don't know how to pinpoint. They just think, oh, this is a normal thing for my kid to be going through or experiencing. And it's actually, you might need to talk to a professional.
Yeah.
They might have some cognitive issues, or they might need testing, or, ADHD. So.
Right.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah. At this point, do you have a direction that you're going? Are you this is my final destination. This is where I want to go?
Not really. I was still like up in the air of like, okay, I don't know if I'm numbers. Because by this time I have like personal assisting, I have accounting, I have insurance billing, like all of this office work type stuff. But I still don't know what I really want to do. So,
Yeah.
is that what you're asking me? Like in that time frame?
Yeah.
So, but I never once told myself like I can't do that or I don't want to do that. I just want to keep learning. And I think that's what's always kept me going is there's always been something new.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got this. Throw that in the bag.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I got this now under my belt.
Is that the main motivating factor for you at that point? Is the continuous? How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's just the continuous. It's not just a stagnant. It's always learning something or doing something different, and always being open to it.
Okay.
To the next thing.
And who's in your life at this point? Is there anyone encouraging you, affirming you, pulling you, pushing you towards the next step, or is it
me?
Pretty self-motivated?
Yeah.
Okay. Where does that motivation come from?
Just wanting to be the best that I can be.
Yeah. As
a mixed female.
Okay.
And seeing my mother, struggle yes, she's a white female, but like I said, she always worked her ass off to make sure that we were always set in everything that we were doing or wanted or,
Yeah. Now, you mentioned being mixed a couple different times.
Yeah.
What's that experience like for you? What does that identifier mean to you? Because again, different for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. Definitely. Okay. I would say it's been different as in it's hard to grow up in a city. We have a lot of diversity here in Portland, especially when I was growing up. I went to the most diverse high school in Portland. That was no problem. High school is not a problem. I think it's more along the lines of like, they looked at me and my brother and they wouldn't know. They were like, oh, are they white and black? Some people thought we were Hispanic. And so it's kind of like, people just really didn't know how to treat us when we were growing up. So I just looked at I looked at myself as a regular person. I knew I was different. My brother and I knew we were different because we were treated different. But.
So what does different mean? Treated different? As a black man, I have a unique experience about being treated different. What was that for you? What does that mean for you?
The way that people look at you, the way that they talk to you, or they don't talk to you. It's all goes hand in hand together.
Right.
And it's, I think you'll know what I mean when I say this. It's a feeling that you get that you can't explain. You just know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do know what you mean. I know what you mean about the feeling you get. Did you know? I'm trying to think of how to ask this question. Did you know that you were mixed or black, or was that a part of your upbringing in your home? Was that a conversation that was happening, or did some external thing happen? Was there an experience that happened that was like, wait a minute?
Oh yeah, there was lots of
both,
things.
or what? Tell me about it.
So, my mom was very open, and she always talked to us that you are going to be treated differently. But our main pinpoint that I can talk to is our grandfather, very conservative white man. He never had a relationship with us because we were different. And he was not okay with my mom being married to a black male and having children at first.
Yeah.
So, and we would always ask, like, how come this side of the family doesn't, Wow. And she'd be like, because you're different. She would just, when we were that small, that's what it was pinpointed as.
Okay. Did she ever describe different? Did you ever get into blackness, whiteness?
I think we just got old enough to where we realized, like, okay, look at our dad and look at our mom.
Right.
So.
How did that feel with your grandfathers? Like, when I hear that, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But you lived it. What was the experience like? Can you recall?
I mean, it was just I know being sad that, he doesn't want to be in our lives because we're different.
Wow.
But also I recall there was this one time where my mom had to go to work and she couldn't find childcare for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was like 5. No, I was in kindergarten. Yeah, you're 5 when you're in kindergarten. Anyways, my brother was in like first or second grade, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go to this like one-off childcare. And I heard the lady call us the little N-words. And I was like, brother, what's that? And he's like, oh, just ignore it. Mm. So then we went home that night and I asked my mom. And my brother told me, don't tell mom that that lady said that.
Okay.
So that was another prominent story that happened to us when we were younger. And then my mom was like, she had to explain to us what that was.
Mm. Yeah. I've had, I think a lot of Black people have had experiences in life where they're kind of like, wait, what's going on right now? How do I interact with that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So while I'm sorry that happened, I also understand, in my own way. How did your brother take all that kind of stuff? Did he respond similarly different?
He always just told me, he always protected me and he always just said, just ignore it or let's just not talk about it.
Okay.
Or don't tell mom because he knew that my mom was just trying to do the best that she could, And there were times where we had to go places that were not ideal, but we just worked through it.
And as you grew up and got older, what's your relationship with your ethnicity now? And I know that's kind of like a weird question to ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it's a thing. It's real. It's something that we have to interact with all the time, whether it's work, whether it's just walking down the street.
Yeah, I think I'm very just guarded in everything, places I choose to go, things that I choose to do, people I choose to hang out with. I think it's just because in this day and age, the United States is not a safe place for people that look like you and I, unfortunately. So, and I want to be around people that I know that are, if something were to happen, we've got each other's back. Like, that's sad that you have to, or that I think about that.
Right.
But like my brother and I, we go to Bend and Sun River a lot because his wife owns a house and her family owns a house out there. And there's been numerous times where we'll be driving and you have to go through, like rural places. And it's like, no, we're not stopping for gas. No, we're not going to the convenience store. Like, we're out here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, nope.
Not playing with that.
Nope. So, it's just, I just think about, I strategically plan where I'm going, what I'm doing for a reason.
To this day.
How about as you journey your way to Thesis, like from where we left off in the story to up to Thesis, have you been strategically considering that as you've moved along?
Am I understanding your question right? So like, are you saying because they're like, I think I need you to rephrase that.
Sure, absolutely. So like, I'll use myself for an example. My experience in the workforce, because I'm Black, is something I always have to consider. When I'm at home, I'm Zuri's father. I'm Alexis's husband. When I leave and I interact with a space that's majority white, I'm Black. I don't look in the mirror and I'm not walking around, going to the bathroom, I'm Black. But when I go to an interview, I am very aware of my Blackness and how other people see me.
So I'm just curious as to, has something like that played a role as you've moved throughout your career?
You
Have
know,
you had a similar experience?
That's actually, I like this question because
Okay.
there's a lot of people that have said, as a Black person, you have to show up differently too. I don't feel like I've had that.
Okay.
Everywhere that I think that I've worked, I think I've had the same respect. And I think that I've been treated fairly, not like in a different from my peers.
Yeah.
So, or just because I was different. So,
Yeah.
Which I'm proud to say, but I'm always definitely focused on doing my best because I know that I am different. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
It does make sense, but I would love for you to expound. Assume someone watching doesn't
I get what you
understand.
mean. I'm always going to go above and beyond.
Okay.
Because I know that if something were to come up, and I know I'm going to be the first to go, probably.
Okay. Right.
That's the only way that I can really explain it.
Yeah.
So I've always just had a really good work ethic, or go above and beyond, or show people respect where respect is due, or never think something is too good for me to do. So,
right.
If that makes sense.
Is that because of your ethnicity, or is that because of upbringing, or both? Or?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. I think it's a mixture of both. Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you end up at Thesis?
So my last job at the social media company, my boss, he sold that company, and I went traveling for like 3 months.
You went, what do they call it, a walkabout?
Yeah. So I freaked out because I was like, because I was there for 10 months after he sold it, and I was like, I'm just going to wait this out because they don't need an HR director. They have a big corporation. I'm like, if I wait this out, they're going to give me some great severance package, and I can go peace out for 3 months.
You were waiting to get let go.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And then it actually happened, and I was like, oh, shit. I freaked out, and I was like, oh, my God, I got to apply for unemployment and all this stuff. I'm like, this is not, I've always been at work, doing something. So it took me a few weeks to figure that emotion out. And I bought a ticket to Belize in Mexico.
Okay.
And I traveled Belize and Mexico for a little over 2 weeks and did some other things. But it was a great reset. And I ended up staying longer than I was supposed to, just because I was like, I'm not ready to go home. I'm not ready to put my foot on the gas to try to find a job. So I have a mutual friend that works here now that I used to work at that old social media company.
Connections.
Yeah. And I was looking online and I saw office manager. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for that. Because it had still a little bit of HR duties in it, but it also had office managerial. And I was like, I don't know if I really just want to do HR, so this might be a good transition for me.
Yeah.
So I applied for it, and I hit up Chris, and I was like, Chris, I applied for this job. And he's like, Michelle, you do not want to do that. You are way overqualified for that. And I'm like, no, that's fine. It's not, who cares if I'm overqualified for it? So the HR director at the time here calls me, come in for an interview, and they called me the next day and offered me the job.
Next day. Killed the interview in there. And what has your journey at Thesis been like? Because you started out as office manager. Now you are senior engagement manager. So there's some time there. How long have you been here, and what's the journey been like?
So I started here February of 2019 as office manager. The next year, I got which was COVID. So I've actually worked here longer at home, but it's all weird. Yeah.
Wait, say it again. You started when? And then when was your start in COVID? When was that combination?
So I started here February of 2019.
Okay.
And so I had February 2019 to March of 2020.
Right.
So we were down in the Old Town office, moved up here, rebranded the Thesis. So I was a part of all that.
Right.
And then we start working from home because it's COVID. So I've actually worked at Thesis longer while we've been working at home for COVID.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, not really, because, this is all of our reality in some sort of way. We all have some sort of like big life transition that's happened for us.
So then in 2020, I was promoted to HR generalist, head of office operations.
Okay.
So I was still like doing stuff in the office while people were working at home. So I had to come and make sure things were check mail, make sure everything's running smoothly here. And then beginning of this year, I joined Scott Thompson on the engagement team after he was hired for his position. So, which was a very important piece of everything.
Right. Right.
So,
and it's so interesting to hear about all of the stuff that has led up to that. What is the aspect of Michelle that you bring to this role that you think would be different if you weren't here? What's the special sauce that you bring?
The special sauce I bring is that I'm reliable, and people know that if I tell them something, or if I tell them that I can do something, it's going to get done.
Yeah.
If I tell you I don't agree or I don't think that that's possible, I actually have a voice. They're going to listen.
Yeah.
Because I've never straightened anybody wrong.
Mm.
And I think it's that piece of being transparent and open and honest. So, and building the relationship with people is very important.
Yeah. That
trusting, open relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
Do you think your younger self would imagine that you'll be at this place right now?
I don't think so.
Why? Make that connection for me.
So I don't think so because I was so confused on what I wanted to do. But now that I know what makes me happy now, and that is being around people and making people happy. And being able to not necessarily do things for people, but make things happen for people.
Yeah. So as you look into the future, what do you imagine or what do you desire your future to look like? What are you working towards now?
Damn. To be honest, I'm just taking it day by day.
Okay.
And I'm just focused on being happy and doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's what's most important to me right now. And I don't really have nothing to complain about or to be unhappy about. So, like I said, just taking it day by day. Doing me.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
I mean, if there's a door that opens for me, like it has in the past, and I choose to walk through that door, then that's what's going to happen when it happens. But I'm just riding the wave right now. Chilling.
That's great. Michelle, thank you for talking to me. I appreciate you telling me your story. Appreciate you breaking this all down for me, for us. And that's going to be a wrap for this episode.
Cool.